Welcome, everyone. It is our great pleasure to host a webinar applying for DM research funding, the peer-reviewed medical research program for the fiscal year 2025. We are very fortunate, right, that this opportunity is still or again available, and we are also very fortunate to have a team here to present the program and then answer question and answer. So let me begin with introduction. Our main speaker today is Dr. Kathryn Argue. She is the Interim Program Manager of the Peer-Reviewed Medical Research Program, or PRMRP, and also the Congressional Directed Medical Research Program, CDMRP, with the U.S. Army Medical Research and Development Command. So Kathryn serves as this interim program manager for this peer review research program within the Congressional Directed Medical Research Program. And as the interim program manager for PRMRP, Dr. Argue is responsible for the execution of the program lifecycle. So that includes the annual investment strategy, development of program announcement, application review, funding of awards, and oversight of in-progress research. Dr. Argue joined CDMRP as a science officer in 2018, and she provided scientific management and support to the portfolio related to neuroscience, internal medicine, endocrinology, and metabolism. Most importantly, Kathryn is also a scientist. So she completed a postdoc fellowship in developmental neuroendocrinology with animal studies and the whole rigorous approach. And she holds a PhD in pharmacology and physiological science from St. Louis University School of Medicine. So without further ado, I would like to hand it over to you, Kathryn. Maybe introduce yourself and your team, and then let's get right to the program itself. Thank you again. Thank you for being available to our community.
First, thank you so much, Andy, for the warm introduction. It's my pleasure to be here today to tell you a little bit about the program, about CDMRP in general, for those of you who may not be so familiar. But really, the focus of today is going to be on the funding opportunities that we have for fiscal year 2025. So I have with me a few members of my team here today that I'd like to introduce. The first is Michelle Lane, who is currently serving as the Deputy Program Manager for the Peer Reviewed Medical Research Program. And then we also have on the line Tiffany Doherty. For those of you who may already have funding from us or who will be fortunate enough to get funding in 2025, Dr. Doherty is the science officer and grants officer representative for the portfolio that holds the topic area of myotonic dystrophy. So she is the one that actually manages the research awards that are recommended for funding. We also have on the line in the audience here, Jenny Meddert-Young, who is a member of our public affairs office. So that's the team here with you today. A little bit of a change up from what we did last year. I have a video to play instead of going through a live slideshow. That is going to enable us to make sure we stay on time and that we have plenty of time for questions at the end, because I think that's the most important part of doing this live webinar, is to make sure that we are able to address all of your questions. So without further delay, we can go ahead and play that video.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for listening. We're excited to see that you're interested not only in the congressionally directed medical research programs, but in the peer-reviewed medical research program. In this presentation, I'm going to first give a brief overview of the CDMRP. Then, I'll talk about the CDMRP program cycle and review process, including some specifics about the peer-reviewed medical research program. I'll also talk about current funding opportunities and where to apply, and the presentation will end with resources and strategies for success. The CDMRP's vision is to transform healthcare through innovative and impactful research. I encourage you to really let these words sink in: innovative and impactful. We aim to fund research that other funding organizations don't, and we do this by responsibly managing collaborative research that discovers, develops, and delivers healthcare solutions for service members and their families, veterans, and the American public. To the right, you can see our star graphic. Each point on the star explains the who, what, where, why, and how of the CDMRP. Congress established the Congressionally Directed Medical Research Programs in response to a grassroots effort in 1992 led by the breast cancer advocacy community. The breast cancer community specifically requested that patient advocates have a voice in determining what research received funding. That effort resulted in a congressional appropriation of funds for breast cancer research and initiated a unique partnership among the public, Congress, and the military. The CDMRP aims to fund innovative and impactful biomedical research everywhere, including with industry partners and academic researchers not only across the United States, but internationally as well. The CDMRP funding opportunities are publicly announced, and investigators and their organizations who meet the eligibility criteria specified in the funding opportunity may apply. To avoid funding duplication with other funding organizations, the CDMRP collaborates with the NIH and the VA to target unfunded and unmet research gaps and works diligently to catch any overlap. Projects are not allowed to receive funding from more than one federal source at a time. After its initial appropriation for breast cancer research in 1992, Congress appropriated additional funding for other targeted research programs. This slide shows a list of the congressionally identified research programs for fiscal year 2025. This year, the peer-reviewed medical research program received $150 million in appropriations for 56 topic areas. For the PRMRP, the list of topic areas serves as the starting point to design the strategy for each year's program cycle. We'll talk more about the fiscal year 2025 topic areas shortly. Now, let's talk about the CDMRP program cycle and review process. Here we show how the program cycle starts at the vision setting meeting and then moves through the release of funding opportunities, the application process, award negotiation and management, and ends with the award closeout. All CDMRP programs follow this same process. Programs hold annual vision setting meetings to define strategies and funding opportunities to execute the appropriation. We annually adapt the program's vision and investment strategy to allow for rapid response based on congressional language and changing needs as described by the community. The CDMRP is only allowed to release funding opportunities after we receive our appropriations. Applicants then submit a pre-application, which is either a letter of intent or a pre-proposal, depending on the specific award mechanism. Pre-applications are the first step to applying for funding from the CDMRP. The CDMRP uses letters of intent for planning purposes only. There is no review process for these letters. Pre-proposals, however, undergo a review and selection process. Applicants will receive an invite or not invite decision. The CDMRP will reject full applications from uninvited pre-proposals. When the application period closes, we then proceed with peer review and finally programmatic review. After we receive the appropriation, it usually takes a few months for us to get through all phases of our program cycle, including the review process. Depending on the award mechanism, there can be up to 18 months between submitting your application and the time you receive notification of your funding recommendation. The CDMRP uses a two-tier research application review process. The two-tier review process is a partnership between peer review and programmatic review. Both reviews rely on a dynamic interaction among scientists, clinicians, and consumers from advocacy organizations, patients, family members and caregivers, members of the military, and other research or clinical specialists as applicable. The first level of review is the peer review. During scientific peer review, reviewers measure applications against established criteria to determine the application's technical merit. This is a criterion-based evaluation of the entire application. The outcome of peer review is a summary statement with a numeric score of the application, but this score does not reflect its standing relative to other applications. Applicants will not receive a summary statement of feedback until the conclusion of the entire review process. Because of the nature of our appropriations and the fluidity of our programs and our topic areas, we do not have standing peer review panels. Each year, we recruit peer reviewers with the expertise to review the applications received for that year's funding opportunities. During programmatic review, reviewers evaluate applications with strong scientific merit as determined by the peer reviewers for potential impact, adherence to the intent of the award mechanism, relevance to program goals, and portfolio composition. Applications are directly compared to one another. Remember, innovation and impact are important to our applications. We want to fund research that directly impacts patients and that moves the field forward. Sometimes it's not the applications with the highest scientific score from peer review that get recommended for funding, and this is because the panel members consider multiple criteria at the programmatic review. The goal is to not draw a pay line, but to recommend for funding those applications that offer the highest promise to fulfill the programmatic goals that we set forth in our program announcements. Programmatic panels include consumers, clinicians, researchers, and a wide variety of representatives from government organizations. We also include additional ad hoc reviewers depending on the specific program needs each year. Peer and programmatic reviewers from previous years are listed on each program's website. When the CDMRP began, the National Academy of Medicine recommended a model for application review. This model encouraged community participation, and we are very proud that consumers participate in all stages of the program cycle, from setting program priorities and investment strategies to participating in application review and making funding recommendations. Consumers are the true north and the foundation of the CDMRP, so their voices are equal to the scientists throughout the review process. Consumer reviewers participate in all levels of review, so it's important to understand who consumers are and what their role is. Consumers are people with lived experience of the research topic. These people are often patients or survivors, caregivers and family members, and even patient advocates. Applications should emphasize the impact that the research will have on these consumers. Consumers are our true north, and in the review process, their votes carry equal weight to the scientists on the panels. Let's shift focus to the peer-reviewed medical research program, or PRMRP, because this program has 56 topic areas, any one of which may pique your interest. Congress first appropriated funds to the PRMRP in 1999. Our congressional language is very broad and non-prescriptive. Congress directs us to support research of clear scientific merit and with direct relevance to military health, but only in congressionally specified topic areas. The vision of the PRMRP is to improve the health, care, and well-being of all military service members and their families and veterans. To reach that vision, the program's mission is to encourage, identify, select, and manage medical research projects of clear scientific merit that lead to impactful advances in health care of service members and their families and veterans. Every year, the PRMRP receives a list of topic areas to address with that year's appropriation. Many of these topic areas vary from one year to the next. For example, Congress did not identify scleroderma and tuberculosis as topic areas in fiscal year 2022, but did for fiscal year 2023. Topic areas new to the PRMRP for fiscal year 2025 appear in blue font: Angelman syndrome, cardiac health, hereditary and acquired ataxia, Hermansky-Pudlak syndrome, menopause, orthotics and prosthetics outcome, Parkinson's, post-acute sequelae of SARS-CoV-2 infection, reconstructive transplant, tick-borne disease, traumatic brain injury and psychological health, tuberous sclerosis complex, and vision. By law, applications must address at least one topic area. Congress does not specify how to allocate funds for each of these topic areas, and the topics compete among themselves. We're looking for research with the highest scientific merit and potential for impactful advances in healthcare. The PRMRP's overall strategy divides the topic areas into 8 portfolios that align with major areas of scientific research: autoimmune disorders and immunology, cardiovascular health, infectious diseases, internal medicine, orthopedic medicine, neuroscience and behavioral health, respiratory health, and rare diseases and conditions. This slide shows how the topic areas are assigned among the portfolios. It is most important here to remember that there are no allocated funds for each of the portfolios. Applications must identify the portfolio and topic area that the research aims to address. The PRMRP sets the research priorities for that year by creating portfolio-specific strategic goals spanning the continuum of care, from prevention and diagnosis through treatment and epidemiology. Key stakeholders, including DoD leaders, government counterparts, and advocacy groups, work with the programmatic panel to create these goals. Applications must address at least one topic area and one strategic goal against which the application will be assessed. As an example, here are the fiscal year 2025 topic areas and strategic goals for the Rare Diseases and Conditions portfolio. You'll find the applicable topic areas and then the strategic goals aligned to the stages of the continuum of care. Applications should describe how the project addresses both the topic area and a strategic goal. Next, we'll describe the funding opportunities offered for fiscal year 2025 and the application submission process. This year, the PRMRP offers 2 award mechanisms. The first is the TTDA, or Technology and Therapeutic Development Award. TTDAs are product-driven and intended to support product development toward a clinical application. The TTDA can support both tangible and knowledge products. Upon completion, tangible products, such as drugs or devices, should be ready to enter clinical trials. This mechanism is commonly used to support the experiments needed for an investigational new drug or an investigation device exemption application to the FDA. Importantly, this award mechanism cannot support basic mechanistic research or a clinical trial. The TTDA mechanism can also support knowledge products, such as clinical practice guidelines or clinical decision-making tools. Whether the product is a tangible item or a knowledge item, the experiments proposed should take the product all the way to clinical trials or evaluation. Preliminary data is required to demonstrate that the product is at the appropriate stage of development for this award mechanism. Next is the CTA, or Clinical Trial Award. As you might guess, the CTA supports the evaluation of a drug, device, or other intervention in a clinical trial. If the intervention requires an IND or IDE, then those applications must have been submitted to the FDA before the application submission deadline, and the IND or IDE application must be approved before the CDMRP can fund the award. The CTA mechanism can also be used to test interventions that are not regulated by the FDA. Preclinical animal research is not supported by this award mechanism. The PRMRP requires only a letter of intent as the pre-application for these award mechanisms. If you recall, a letter of intent is not reviewed or evaluated. It serves only for administrative purposes. In the one-page letter, you'll tell us which portfolio, topic area, and strategic goal the proposed research will address. Your brief research description will allow us to start forming our peer review panels with the appropriate experts. For both award mechanisms, letters of intent are due June 9th, 2025, and full applications are due by July 21st. The CDMRP posts funding opportunity announcements or program announcements to their website, grants.gov, the Electronic Biomedical Research Application Portal, or EBRAP, SAM.gov, and to LinkedIn. To quickly find the opportunities on the CDMRP website, first go to the homepage, and then click Funding Opportunities, and then choose Program Funding Opportunities. When applying for funding, please note that all deadlines are listed at the top of the announcement. Within the announcement, a table of contents details information about the award mechanism and application requirements. The award information section has all of the information you need to know about which mechanism is appropriate for you. The announcement also includes the evaluation criteria so that you are clear what is expected of your application. Please note that the CDMRP program staff do not directly work with applicants on their materials. Even if you understand the expectations by the time you get to page 5, please keep reading. Attention to detail and grantsmanship goes a long way. All PRMRP applications must include a few required attachments, including a project narrative, supporting documentation, technical and lay abstract, a statement of work, post-award transition plan, prior outcome statement, representations, and an intragovernmental or intramural budget form. All applications include impact and relevance to military health statements that explain how the proposed research will address the healthcare needs of service members, veterans, military beneficiaries, and the American public. Please note these are 2 separate attachments for the TTDA, while the CTA combines the impact and relevance to military health statement. In addition to these common attachments, each award mechanism requires specific application components relevant to the type of research they support. For example, the Clinical Trial Award requires the application describe the target study population and the regulatory strategy, among others. The Technology and Therapeutic Development Award needs an attachment addressing the statistical plan and data analysis. Let's take a moment to consider the relevance to military health statement. At the CDMRP, each program, including the PRMRP, aligns with the CDMRP's vision of transforming healthcare for service members, their families, veterans, and the American public. Some ideas can benefit the civilian population and be related to military health. Aspects of the targeted disease and condition that have direct relevance to military health is something that you should investigate and really describe in your application. For example, a family member having a serious disease or condition can impact a service member's readiness. Describing this link between the research idea and improving healthcare for service members and their families and veterans plays a key role in the review of all applications to the CDMRP. The program announcements list specific criteria for use in either peer review or programmatic review. For peer review, these criteria may be scored or unscored and are listed in decreasing order of importance. Each of these criteria, such as impact, shown here, includes a bulleted list of desired qualities that peer reviewers will use to evaluate your application. We encourage all applicants to consider this list while preparing their applications to ensure that the application meets all the requirements. After peer review comes programmatic review. This slide shows the criteria that the programmatic review panel will use to evaluate your application. Important criteria include the proposed research's relevance to military health, the relevance to identified topic area, and how well the application meets the portfolio-specific strategic goals. As a reminder, applications with the best scientific scores may not always be recommended for funding. Our programmatic panel also considers which applications will fill gaps within our portfolio or help achieve the program's strategic goals. Our programmatic panel is listed on our website, and we encourage you to look at the individuals who will make the recommendations for funding. This slide summarizes the application submission process, starting by viewing program announcements and then submitting a pre-application before submitting the full application. Both principal investigators and business officials play a role in the application submission process. All organizations will submit pre-applications through eBREP. Extramural or non-DoD organizations will submit full applications through grants.gov, while intramural or DoD organizations will submit again through eBREP. There is no competitive advantage to submitting through eBREP or grants.gov. All applications are pulled together prior to the start of the review process. This year, pre-applications are due by 5 p.m. Eastern Time on June 9th for both the Technology and Therapeutic Development Award and the Clinical Trial Award. Full applications are due by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on July 21st. To end this presentation, we'd like to leave you with some resources and strategies for success. The most helpful strategy to share with you is the importance of carefully reading the program announcements. We do not work with investigators to tailor their applications, so we put every piece of information that you will need into the announcement itself. The CDMRP program officers will not be able to give applicants individual attention through the submission process. When preparing an application, please ensure that you understand the goals of the program, the topic areas and strategic goals, the intent of the award mechanism, and the review criteria. Funding opportunity announcements contain all the information that you will need to complete your application. Make sure that you review the strategic goals and topic areas, as well as the required elements, including the deadlines. Deadlines are extremely important. Outside of catastrophic events like a hurricane or something truly out of the ordinary, the DoD does not provide a grace period for pre-application or application submissions. Deadlines are deadlines. If you submit even a minute late, the application is automatically withdrawn. There is nothing that the program office can do, so we encourage you to allow enough time for submission. Many applications come from academic institutions and are submitted through a business office, so please keep details in mind when planning to submit your application. As promised, we'd like to share some strategies for success. When preparing an application, please keep in mind the relevance, impact, innovation, and feasibility of the proposed research. Proposed research should align with the specific guidelines in the program announcement. The announcements should clearly articulate translatability. How will this work make a difference? If you propose something truly innovative, make sure that you provide a clear rationale for testing new, potentially high-risk ideas or novel approaches. And last, Make sure that you clearly outline approaches for a contingency plan. Please ensure that you include evidence of appropriate expertise related to the proposed project, that you have enough statistical power for validating and generating meaningful results, and that you have the availability and access to critical resources needed to complete the proposed work. Planning and timelines are very important. Please make sure that you give yourself, your collaborators, and even your business office enough time to complete the work and submit the pre-application and full application on time. Remember, we do not provide grace periods. One strategy to ensure that your application meets all of the requirements is to have a colleague you trust read your application, maybe even more than once. Please keep in mind who will be reading your application. The review panels include non-scientist consumers, so we encourage you to write clearly and without scientific jargon, particularly in the lay abstract attachment. Our program page has a lot of information, including our strategic plan, a program booklet, and other program-specific resources. On the main CDMRP website, you'll find annual reports, a webinar series, videos, and other great resources. We've also prepared 2 specific videos describing the journey of an application. We encourage you to look at the website before and while you're working on your application. You can always sign up to our listserv on the website or through eBRAP to receive communications from specific programs or for all the programs. Subscribing to the listserv will notify you of open funding opportunities and help you stay up to date on CDMRP news. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. We hope this helps you better understand and prepare for the application process.
All right, hopefully everyone found that video really informative. I just want to emphasize a few key points. I know it was already said in the video, but I cannot overemphasize enough how important it is to read the program announcement in its entirety. For those of you that have applied for CDMRP funding in the past, keep in mind that our opportunity template has updated since last year. So things might be in a different location than where you are used to seeing them within the program announcement. It's really important to take a look at the intent, the differences between the 2 award mechanisms that we're offering this year. And the best way to do that is, in addition to reading the award intent information, is to take a look at the peer review criteria. They are distinct between the 2 mechanisms. And I really especially want to highlight with the clinical trial award mechanism that the reasonableness of the budget is a peer-reviewed criteria. So it's really important that there's a matchup between the work that you're proposing and the amount of funding that you are requesting. Additionally, I just want to put out there that I know the deadlines are quickly approaching. We're on a bit of a short timeline this year, shorter than usual. So if you're on the fence about whether or not to apply, go ahead and please submit that 1-page letter of intent. You can always withdraw it if you decide not to move forward with the full application, but we are absolutely unable to accept a full application for any proposal for which we did not first receive that letter of intent. So hopefully you have enough time between now and the deadline on June 9th to get that letter of intent submitted. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to take those now.
Great. Thank you again for the presentation. And then for our audience, please submit questions through the Q&A function. And we are going to read the questions out loud. We won't reveal, of course, your identity, and then we will have it on record, right, for the entire community. Well, while we wait for questions, I went back to the archives from previous years, and one question that we got repeatedly was the eligibility for international applicants. Would you mind commenting on that?
Yes, we can fund internationally, unlike some of the other funding organizations that are restricted to just funding within the United States. CDMRP can fund international applicants. So the PI can be from an international organization, and/or you can have international collaborators, sub-awardees as appropriate. So it's a good opportunity for some of you to take advantage of some of those opportunities to engage with partners in other countries, since they are eligible for this funding.
Great. And so then another question, it's actually a three-part question, and I apologize up front. So it's kind of what is a good application and what is a not so good application? And then the third question, what would you advise applicants? Is there a way to best balance between achieving a good technical score as well as then kind of influence the priority evaluation further downstream? What would you recommend?
Sure. So the balance that you want to strike is having a sound scientific merit technical application and impact. That is the most important thing for not just the peer-reviewed medical research program, but CDMRP across the board. We are an impact-driven organization. So throughout the application, as many places you can find it, hit that over the head. How this work is going to make a difference in patient lives, how this is not just an incremental advancement on what other research has been done or what your lab has been working on, really how this is going to drive forward something that's going to make a difference for people. That is what really sells it for our programmatic panel. That's what makes the difference between something that is just great technically and something that ultimately is recommended for funding for us.
Great, thank you. Then a question from the audience with regards to the letter. How detailed should this letter be? Maybe can you elaborate there?
Sure. So the letter of intent, the most important thing on the letter of intent is basically that it is used for recruitment of our peer review panel. So we would like to have an idea of what topic area you are applying to, what strategic goal your application is going to be addressing, and enough information about the specific aims or general idea of their project so that appropriate expertise can be recruited to review the application. If there are significant changes, if you decide to change the title of the application and really make major changes to the specific aims, the strategic goal that you want to address, you can submit an appeal in between the letter of intent and the full application to make those changes. So other than that, it is just a one-pager, so you can't get into too much of the technical detail within one page. It's just to help us plan to have an idea of what's coming in for that year.
Thank you. Then a question from a researcher is, are collaborative grants a possibility? Are grants between multiple institutions a possibility? And can nonprofit, and do you allow partnerships with nonprofit organizations?
Yes, so collaborative grants are a possibility. There can be multiple institutions involved in the work. We do not, however, have a partnering award mechanism this year that allows multiple partners to receive their own individual award, but you can have as many partners or collaborators as you want as sub-award sites or collaborators on the grant, depending on the nature of your agreement with those individuals you are partnered with. And it can be partnerships between for and nonprofits. Those are perfectly okay. And either the for-profit or the nonprofit, either one can serve as the prime awardee.
So to summarize here, kind of the important thing, it's a subcontract mechanism with a with one investigator or institution leading the project.
Correct.
Great. Then the next question is kind of a higher level question, maybe not directly related to science. And it goes, with our 50% cut in funding availability this year compared to last year, how do you anticipate this will impact the review and/or funding process?
It really comes down to what is submitted to us. All I can say is we do anticipate that it will be a competitive year. Hopefully we are, prepared to we have narrowed down our pipeline of what we're offering with having, two mechanisms, which does differ than the number of mechanisms that we offered in years past when we had more funds available to us. But all I can say is put your best foot forward. We do anticipate that it will be competitive.
The next question is not really tangible for the founding announcement per se, but it goes, if we know people who want to be reviewers, what steps should they take? And is it too late for them to sign up?
Sure. It is not too late to put your name forward as a potential reviewer. You can send the information through to CDMRP with the email address on our website, or you can have the foundation pass your information directly to me, and I will pass it along to the subcontractor company that does a lot of our peer review recruitment for us. There is a little bit of a different process if you want to be a consumer reviewer. If somebody is interested in speaking from the patient or provider perspective, you have to be nominated by an organization. And there is a link on the CDMRP website to go through that nomination process to serve as a consumer reviewer. But for the scientific reviewers, aside from that, you can just email, let us know that you're interested.
Great. Next question. Do you need more consumer reviewers or scientific reviewers?
Yes, we do. Recruitment is still ongoing for the reviewers. So that process will be ongoing all the way through up until the full application receipt deadline. And we really know the number of applications that we have coming in. So nothing's been finalized on the reviewer side. We are still working on recruitment.
Great. While we wait maybe for a couple more questions, so can nonprofits or foundations apply?
Yes, they can.
Thank you. So my queue here is empty. So my plea to the audience, please use this stellar panel to answer questions, right? Because during the process, this possibility is somewhat limited. So please put forward your questions, right? And make use of this excellent panel. Okay, one more question. Can you speak more to the military relevance of myotonic dystrophy?
Sure. So this is true for all of our topic areas under PRMRP. I'll keep it, I know this is the myotonic dystrophy community, but some of you may have multiple research projects going in your lab. There are different ways to address military relevance. Keep in mind that the definition of military health is a very broad and encompassing definition that encompasses the service members, the veterans, their beneficiaries, and the American public. So depending on what your research idea is, do some research and identify how it is applicable to those different communities and how you can make that link. If it's something that specifically addresses the service member, veterans, or the beneficiaries, you can get some data on the incidents within those communities and speak to that, the burden of cost, the burden of care. If it's something that is you can't get that data for, you can speak to the readiness of the military service members. If they have a family member that is affected by myotonic dystrophy, that goes to speaking to their readiness to serve if they're busy taking care of a family member. And for any condition that is disqualifying for military service, you can kind of speak to its effect on the fighting strength of the U.S. population. So there's various different ways you can address this. Some examples are listed in the program announcement, but do some research. And we also do, I hope you don't mind, Andy, give the suggestion to speak with the foundations. Oftentimes the foundations were involved in the lobbying efforts to get these topic areas under the Department of Defense. So they are sometimes a good reference for some of the statistical information that you might be looking for and links to the Department of Defense.
Yeah, and to thank you very much. And to your last comment, Tanya Stevenson, our CEO, just commented, and there's always a possibility to contact MDF to talk about how our military families have been affected by the disease in the past, right? And of course, we'll share this information. So maybe one more comment with regards to eligibility. And could you please comment on the eligibility of the principal investigator if the principal investigator belongs to a research organization and does not have an academic role?
Yes, so we do have language in our program announcements. So there's the academic role of must be equivalent to an assistant professor or equivalent. However, if you're at an institution that does not use those types of academic titles, any sort of equivalent independent investigator is acceptable. And it's really up to your organization, the business official, to, write the letter and state that you're in an appropriate position to be applying as the PI of this grant and conducting the work proposed.
Very beautiful and very helpful. Okay, let me look here. My queue is empty again, so maybe if there are no more questions, right, coming in within the next 10 seconds or so, we, the foundation, would really thank you very, very much, right, for making yourself available for this really important funding mechanism for our research, scientific and clinical community. And for those still online, Clede will prepare the recording and make it available as soon as possible. Well, one more question popped in, and it's, will it be predominantly basic research or translational?
So we are not offering an award mechanism this year for basic research. We have an opportunity for translational research, and we have an opportunity for clinical trials. And that is all that we are offering for this year.
Thank you. Okay. Well, with this and my queue being empty again here, right? Thank you again. Thank you all for attending. We will make the recording available as soon as possible, and we'll also with the recording provide links to the program announcements again. And for those interested in serving as consumer reviewer or scientist reviewers, please reach out. We can forward your request to Dr. Argue. And with this, thank you again, and hopefully until next year. And to all of you, good luck with applying. Thank you very much.
Yes. Best of luck. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing all of your great applications this year.